soon as we get streaming on YouTube, we will. We're on. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the live stream this evening. Guys, listen, today I want to talk about something that I've spoke about before. But if you live in the United Kingdom, it's quite blatant right now what's happening. And what I want to talk about is ideological subversion. Now, I harp on about this all the time, and it's kind of not one of those topics. Everybody wants the topics, the big Donald Trump's dropping bombs, this protest, Tommy Robinson's doing this, Nigel Farage is doing this. But the reality of the situation in the United Kingdom, and I want to say the West in general, is we have been massively subverted. Now, I used to think that I knew who this was, but listen, what I'm going to say is, and this is going to be wild, I'm going to tie this into the moon landing. Now, I'm going to say something now at the beginning of this live stream, and at the end of it, it's going to become relevant. So just bear with me here for a second. It'll only take a couple of seconds. So people ask me, Sean, do you think the moon landing was faked? And I totally get all the arguments. Like, they don't have the technology to land on the moon now. NASA said they've lost the technology. They've lost the original film that was from the moon. Somebody wrote over it. And if you watch the moon landings back again, it looks absolutely ridiculous. It does. It looks so ridiculous if you watch the moon landings back again. So I take all those arguments. Now, my response to that has always been, no, I don't think the moon landings were faked, because if they were, that must mean that the Russians were in on it, well, the Soviet Union. And at that time of our history, the Americans and the Soviet Union were, they were having they were in the Cold War, and the Russians will have had the kit and equipment to be able to authenticate that moon landing. That's what I've always said, ladies and gentlemen. That is what I've always said regarding to the moon landings. Now, Raven, what does the moon landings have to do with ideological subversion in the United Kingdom? I can hear you asking. Well, don't worry, because I'm about to tell you. Listen, guys, before we start, can you do me a real big favor if you've not done so already? Hit those buttons down below, the like, follow, subscribe, bell notification. We're triple streaming, obviously, as we do every evening. And if the live feed goes down on TikTok, if I say something that I shouldn't do, please jump over to YouTube, because I am streaming on YouTube and X as well. Right, okay, so let's begin, ladies and gentlemen. If you live in the United Kingdom right now, that screen's really bright. If you live in the United Kingdom right now, it does seem like it's absolute chaos, doesn't it? Like, if you live in the UK right now, it's literally boom, 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 boom. One thing after another. It's just getting worse and worse. And people are like, oh, what's happening? What's happening? But if you understand the process, the process that we're going through right now, which is ideological subversion, everything starts to make sense. All these crazy things that are happening, all these all these crazy appointments, all these crazy spendings, the mass migration, everything makes sense. So ideological subversion, ladies and gentlemen, is a gradual and long-term process undermining the structures of a society. Now, this can be done through manipulation of media, education, social institutions, to destabilize the existing social order. So take the United Kingdom in the 60s. You was not getting in. You was not getting into the United Kingdom in the 60s, guys. We was a strong company, it was a strong Sid, hang on, Sid, right, hang on, let me get right. Sid, I'm going to mute you, Sid. I mean, Sid. So Sid's heckling me here on TikTok, and that's absolutely fine, Sid. You can heckle me. But, like, you've just got yourself, I've just subverted you now, and now you don't get anything to say. So rather than saying something intelligent, you just came out with, stuff that was ridiculous. Anyway, Sid's gone now. So this is the long process of destabilizing a government. There's 4 phases to this, but normally this makes what the end goal is making that society vulnerable to either a collapse or a takeover. Now, for you guys, I'm saying I'm actually welcoming this subversion. I'm welcoming the takeover because we are looking at a United States takeover. And that is the reality of this situation, guys. Right now, we have got a UK, you know, it does look like the United States are going to take over the UK at some point. So let's bear all that in mind, and then we'll talk real quick about the phases. I'm not gonna dwell too much on these guys. I want to fire through these real quick, and then I want to talk about them on, you know, through the chat. So phase 1, there's 4 phases: demoralization, destabilization, crisis, and normalization. So demoralization phase, this normally takes 15 to 20 years, but in our case, in the United Kingdom, that's taken a lot longer. If you were to ask me, I would say this started in 1962. Yeah, I'm throwing a date on it. I'm throwing a year. I could probably throw a month on it if I had to. But I'm saying this started in 1962. So you can understand this phase of demoralization. Demoralization. It's been going a long time. We are already demoralized in the United Kingdom. Now, when I talk about this, I want you to just think, right, is this relevant? And is this is this actually happening? So 10 to 15 to 20 years, you know, that's the time. Like I said, in the United Kingdom, it's taken a lot longer. Now, this is to educate a generation. We're talking about generational education now. Now, helping along the way are media, teachers who have been sympathetic to these liberal causes, you know, to the theoretical causes of the subverted nation. Now, listen, guys, I'm going to use this live stream, and I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say that we don't know. I don't know who the subverted nation is. Normally, it's a near-peer adversary, but. I'm going to tie this into the moon landing, and I'm going to tie this into something darker at the end. So that's kind of what you need to do with that, guys. It's a long-term process, and you know, to demoralize a country. Now, following the demoralization phase, you have the destabilization phase, which, if you live in the United Kingdom, we are being destabilized right now, guys, and we're just about to flip over into the next phase. But this is again, the timings, different cases are different for each country, but the timings for this are 2 to 5 years. I think we have been slowly getting destabilized for about 10 years, I would say. You know, in fact, it could be argued, you know what, it could be argued actually it's a lot longer than that. It could be argued that we've actually been destabilized since 1997. Then you're heading to the crisis phase. Now, again, the crisis phase, it's a crisis. And if you think the United Kingdom if you guys think that we are in a crisis now, trust me, guys, you've seen nothing yet. And then after the crisis phase, you get the normalization phase, which would be the takeover of the other nation. Right, I'm just going to leave it there, guys. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I've done like deeper dives into this, where it's like, you know, where I've gone into this for like hours, and it's difficult to listen to. Go back and watch my previous videos. What I'm getting at here is all these things that are happening in the United Kingdom. They are part of this subversion. So I would argue in 1962, at the end of the end of the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Russians understood they couldn't take on NATO force for force. So they started their process of subversion. Now, hear me out. That process takes a long time, and you can always lengthen. If you're not like Keir, and again, like Keir Starmer, if you've not completed phase 1, you don't move into phase 2. Equally, if you're not ready to move into phase 2, you just keep bolstering phase 1. You make phase one even stronger. So that's where we are right now, guys. All right, we've been destabilized. Sorry, we've been demoralized. We are being destabilized, and at some point, very soon, we are going to flip into the crisis phase. Now, once the crisis phase happens, that's when the Americans will step up and say, "Hey, everyone, do you guys want some democracy? Do you guys want a constitution? Do you guys want some rights?" And we will all shout in unison, "Yes, please, Donald," or JD. And look, guys, and I'll be quite clear about this. I actually welcome that. I welcome that. So maybe it's not a bad thing. I'm just letting you guys know that this is part of a process. This is part of a long process of, of manipulation. And there's some fantastic, there's some absolutely fantastic methods that have been deployed on the United Kingdom, like weaponizing our own taxes against us. And I know that sounds wild, and I know people want bombs and bullets. They do. People, honestly, people, and it astounds me how people switch off to what's really happening. They want the fast action. They want the big flashy headlines. People want Donald Trump, war machine, bombing, mass nuclear weapons. That's what people listen to. The reality is you've got kind of two things happening here. You've got the real stuff that's taking away your rights daily, and then there's the stuff that everybody's focused on over here. Oh, I don't know. And that's where we are right now, guys. All right. So we're being subverted. The United States are going to come over. There's going to be a takeover. But now, what I want to jump back to is when I said at the beginning of this live stream about the moon landings, that I said, I don't know if the moon landings, I don't think the moon landings were faked. And I gave you guys the reason why. And I said, if the moon landings were fake, then that means the US and the Soviet Union were working together on that. Now, let's just go down this smoky rabbit hole, guys. Let's just go down it. One second, all right? Let's pretend for 1 second that the Russians and the Americans are working together. Behind closed doors, they're bros. They're bros. I got your back, bro. I got your back. And that's been like that. And it's just been a perceived, and I don't know if this is the case. And let's just pretend that it's been a perceived, competition between the United States and the Soviet Union or Russia is now. So that puts everything into a new context, guys. That puts absolutely everything into a new context. So when you look at these political things that are happening in the United Kingdom, I mean, guys, come on. We have got a problem in the United Kingdom with predominantly Pakistani gangs. I'm just going to leave it there, guys. I don't want to get a live stream cut at 16 minutes. We have, if you want to drive people crazy in that country, put a Pakistani Muslim in charge of looking at those gangs. A Pakistani Muslim that says that they are, a devout Muslim and they will follow and I did a live stream earlier. If you want to drive a country crazy, promote people like David Lammy, who nobody has faith in. I don't know. Does anybody have faith? Guys, listen, I don't mean to be rude here. Does anyone have faith in David Lammy? Does anyone I am, and that's an open question, and I don't mean to be, I don't mean to be rude. Does anyone think that Yvette Cooper will be able to negotiate her way through a room filled with Eastern European oligarchs? You see where it's just they're quite possibly the worst people you would have for those roles. the worst people. But then if you understand the systems that have got them in place, it all makes sense. It all makes sense, guys. So what I'm getting at in this live stream, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, if you're an American, do not let your country be subverted. People could argue your country's already subverted and what's happening now is part of subversion. I'm not so sure. But what I'm getting at here, guys, is, if you're an American, look at what's happening in the United Kingdom right now. Do not let that happen to you. Don't let it happen to you. I do think we'll come out of this at some point. I don't know what we're going to look like when we come out of this, but eventually we're going to have to come out of this. We're either all going to be praying 5 times a day, we're all going to be in 15-minute cities, or we're all going to be, brazen on broad, on broad sunlit uplands. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I guess I'm on now. That's what I'm talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, right? We are being subverted in the United Kingdom. We're about to head into the crisis phase. Mark my words, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen nothing yet. I promise you. I don't know if you can take this as like a snippet, but ladies and gentlemen, you think it's bad now? In September 2025, you have seen nothing yet. I'm leaving it there, guys. If you want to take that as a snippet and then play it at some point back to yourselves, feel free. Anyway, let me jump up and get some questions. Comments, rather. Right, good evening, everyone. Guys, the chat's open. There's so many comments. I'm just going to go from the bottom. Grumbling Grunts is saying, I need to start recording your live streams. Grumbling Grunts on TikTok. We stream on YouTube as well. So all our videos are uploaded to YouTube as well. So you can go watch them on YouTube as well, because they all get uploaded in real time. Not in real time, afterwards, actually. Right, Rose is saying, Sean, could you explain subversion again? Oh, right, I will explain it at the end of the live stream, but it gets really boring. I will do, yeah. Rose, I will explain it again before the live stream's closed. When you're doing these live streams, you've got, I want to keep I want to keep attention. I want to keep things moving. I don't want to dwell on the same things, because they are, everybody wants. Donald Trump dropped these bombs. Nuclear bombs may get used. Putin moves his missiles. Xi Jinping moves his missiles there. UK Special Forces, American SEAL Team 6. Everybody wants those flashy headlines. That's not relevant. The real stuff that's moving forwards are these little step-by-step things, that people don't see, because it's not big, it's not flashy, it's not out in the open. But Rose, 100%, I will talk about subversion before this live stream's ended. Deza, I'm just going to pin this. Deza is saying 1,000 came over today. Wow. I don't know if 1,000 did come over. Do you know what? Let me get the numbers on this. Let me just Google this real quick. Right, I can only get it for the last 7 days, and I don't think this is so look, guys, I don't know how many boat migrants have come over today. Des is saying it was 1,000. I don't know. Where are we? September. Oh, it says none. That's weird. The government website is saying nobody's came over. I don't. That seems peculiar, because I've definitely seen images. Yeah, that's weird. I'm just looking at the government's own website. But look, whether Deza's right or not. Oh, Deza's saying it's on GB News. Hang on there. Give me a second. Let me get this up. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, mate. Yeah, so I guess I should have started with this. migrant crisis. Border force declares red day in the channel. Turns out those digital IDs are not really a deterrent at all. So this is from 59 minutes ago, guys. This is an exclusive. Border Force declares red day in channel as over 1,000 small boat migrants cross illegally on new Home Secretary's new first day in full office. So there we have it, guys. Over 1,000 new people in the United Kingdom. Doctors, engineers, scientists, rocket scientists, rocket engineers, architects. You know, the wealth of intellect that's coming over that channel, ladies and gentlemen, is absolutely phenomenal. And you know what? I welcome each and every one of them, inshallah. The new Home Secretary, Shabina Mahood, was on the shores waving people in as they came across the channel in Dover. She said, "Don't worry, everyone. You won't be deported. I got you. Hashtag Muslims stick together." No, I don't know if that was said, guys. I don't know if that was said. I don't know. That was fake news. That was fake news. I will read you the article now. The new Home Secretary, Shabina Mahmood, has faced a shocking introduction to the small boats crisis after more than 1,000 boat migrants crossed the channel illegally on her first full day in office. By early evening, GB News counted 1,027 migrants as they were brought to the Border Force Processing Centre in Dover Harbour. It takes the total number of illegal channel arrivals this year to more than 30,000. The grim total was reached just after 6 p.m. on Saturday when the Border Force catamaran Hurricane arrived in Dover with 20. They're sending catamarans? That's whatever. They're sending catamarans. I'll go with that. Catamaran Hurricane arrived into Dover with 205 migrants on board. After officials declared a red day in the channel, UK maritime. Right, guys, listen. Do you think there's collaboration going on between both sides here? Do you think there's collaboration? And this just brings to the forefront what I've been saying about subversion. We're being subverted. We are being destabilized. And you know what? You know when somebody pulls the pins and says, right, all you guys that are sleeper cells, off you go. That is going to be the crisis phase, ladies and gentlemen. We are not in it yet, but we are heading towards it. We've done that. It has provided Shabina Mahmood with a sobering insight into the scale of the task she faces since taking over from Home Secretary from Yvette Cooper. Do you know one way, ladies and gentlemen, and this is just me speculating, but do you know one way to stop this? Like one way that Shabina Mahmood could stop this, she could just make it all legal. She could make it all legal, and then none of these people, she could make it legal, and then they could come over on the ferries. Doesn't that make sense, guys? Doesn't that make sense? I'm being serious. Doesn't it make sense? So full stop. Hang on, real quick. So full stop is saying about the number doesn't make sense. So the actual number is 1,027. That's what's being reported on GB News. Now, look, guys, I'm reading this article. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if anyone came aboard. But wouldn't it make it? Listen, guys, I'm being 100% serious here. If the government made illegal migration legal, and if they paid for ferry tickets to bring these people over, they would stop the boats. Don't tell me that idea is not being floated, ladies and gentlemen. Don't tell me that somewhere in government they're not thinking, right, what's the problem with these illegal migrant boats? Well, the problem is they're coming in on the boats and everyone can see them. Right. So we need to stop the boats, you're telling me? Yeah. So why don't we just give them all ferry tickets and then we've stopped the boats? It's like the hotels. How do we close the hotels? I don't know. Maybe put them in private rented accommodation. And then we close the hotels and claim we've managed to do what the Conservatives didn't. Sounds like a plan, Batman. How much is it going to cost? Shitloads. Can we double that price? We can triple it if you want. How about we quadruple it? We'll raise inflation and we'll raise taxes. Our job here is done. Hashtag destabilization 101. Yeah, so yeah, thank you for putting me onto that, guys. Thank you for putting me onto that. Right, I'm just getting the comments, guys. I'm just getting the comments. Go Raven Fact. Grumbling Grunts is saying, unless they're trying to get over ASAP before the IDs come in. Maybe. Rose is saying, I don't trust anything the government comes out with now. Do you know what, Rose? This is a problem. Well, listen, Rose, well, first of all, Rose, you're 100% right. I don't trust, I've not trusted anyone for a long time. Like, I'm the only person I trust. And at best, that's 50-50. Now, Rose is saying, I don't trust anything the government comes out with right now. And this is the problem. When you live in fear, which we do, when you live in fear, you lose trust. When you lose trust, you suspect everything. You can't do anything. You don't spend. You're not a member of society. You retreat. You go into survival mode. And right now, if you live in the United Kingdom, you are in survival mode. There is no denying it. If you live in the United Kingdom right now, you are in survival mode. Oh, hang on. Deza's got some fantastic information. Deza is saying, started moving them next door to people during the night. Saw people upset. Well, you did want the hotels closed, guys. You did want the hotels closed. Martin Quinn is saying, let me pin this. The chat's going crackers. Hang on, right. Where's his chat? Right, Martin Quinn just said something. Right, there we are. There we are. Martin Quinn says, if they came over on the ferries, they would need passports and then people would know who they are. Martin Quinn. That would be on the assumption that they don't have special documentation that the government give them in France. Or how about this? Look, Martin, I'm obviously being sarcastic. But if they did come over on ferries, why would they need a passport? They don't need a passport when they come over on the boats. So they get on the ferries. They say, yeah, I'm just coming over to the United Kingdom. No, I don't have a passport. Oh, right, okay, no worries. Come on. Here's your free drinks. Here's your voucher. And then everybody else has to pay. Don't worry about that. Everybody else has to pay a little. Can you imagine it on the ferry? Let's microcosm this, ladies and gentlemen, right? So now you've got the government saying, this is a totally hypothetical scenario, guys, but it's kind of it might actually happen. I hope it doesn't happen, but it does. I'm not ruling it out, guys. I'm not saying anything is too absurd that it can't happen. So let's just imagine this, guys, all right? The government decide to stop the boats by just saying, get on ferries, guys. It's a lot safer. When we get to the other end, we'll sort you out at the other end. It's just, it's a bit, we're just going to stop the boats. Anyway. So the migrants, when they get on the ferry now, they say, oh no, actually, I'm a migrant. I'm just coming over to the United Kingdom. And then the ferry operator says, oh, excellent, sir. There's your lounge. There's your free food. There's your free drinks. Anything else you want, please do ask and our crew will help you. And then there's the normal people getting on. They're like, what? They're like, yeah. They don't have passports, so they get free food. They get free transport. They get free accommodation. They literally don't have to pay for anything. But because they're on here, everything's going to be a little bit more expensive, you know, because you kind of have to pay for these guys. That is literally a microcosm of what's happening in the United Kingdom right now. Okay, in that scenario, that would be perfectly feasible. When they get to the United Kingdom, no difference. You just have a different lane at customs and you say passport holders, non-passport holders. And ladies and gentlemen, the problem of stopping the boats is over. Done, finished. Yay, we stopped the boats. You kind of made things a million times worse. Be careful what you wish for, ladies and gentlemen. Right, I'm going to jump down. Remember the two Lucys ain't such a coincidence, both Lucy. I don't know what that means. So full stop saying, remember the two Lucys? Oh, I tried to pin that and I almost blocked you there. I didn't mean to block you. Oh, it's not approved. Oh, your comment's not approved. That's weird. So full stop. So full stop's just, that's really weird. So a commentator. So a commentator here has just put, remember the two Lucys ain't such a coincidence. And that comment's been blocked. I've not blocked that comment. Absolutely not. I've not blocked that comment, but we'll just go with it. Martin Quinn again is saying, so if people pay me to have a rocket launcher on what, oh, hang on, I'm not sure I can, but this was absolutely fine. So you can talk about rocket launchers, but you can't talk about people called Lucy. Very peculiar, this chat in TikTok today, guys. So if people pay me to have a rocket launcher on one of those small boats, it would be cheaper. I don't know what that means. Listen, guys, I don't know if some people have been on the source tonight. I don't know, but, you know, I have no idea what that means. Cassie is saying in Skeggy, there were jet planes trading, I think she means training, early morning, then afternoon helicopters very low. Yeah, so if you look at Skegness, you've got like that, you've got that, I guess, eastern flank of the United Kingdom, which is predominantly where you would see incursions from Russian aircraft. You've got, what have you got? You've got RAF Scampton in that area. You've got, what's the other one in there? Go on. There's the other one where the drones are. Where's the other one where the drones are? Not Scampton. Go on. It begins with L. Anyway, on that east coast of the United Kingdom, you've got lots of air bases. They do lots of training. The Quick Reaction Force, or QR, the Quick Reaction Forces, they're basically to go out and intercept any naughty aircraft that are encroaching on our airspace. RAF Donanook at Mablethorpe. Yeah, so all down that eastern coast, guys. There's lots of RAF bases. Wayne is saying polyphonic paradoxes puncture perception. I believe polyphonic paradoxes do puncture perception. You know. Oh, I think that's in response to the Lucy issue that we had earlier. Sherry Heppelstone is saying, I think this month Keir Starmer will stand down. Not a chance, ladies and gentlemen. Lakenheath, that's it, Lakenheath. Sorry, one of the comments on YouTube, Lakenheath. Sherry Heppelstone here is saying, I think this month Starmer will stand down. Absolutely not, guys. Not a chance. He's not going anywhere. Keir Starmer. Okay, so Keir Starmer, and I've given this like quite a few times. Right, you guys, in fact, let me pin this. So Keir Starmer, I believe he's massively compromised as a subverted operative. Now, if you look into Keir Starmer's background, and I have, First of all, when he was, I think in 1986, he went over to the Czech Republic. Was it Czech Republic? No, it's Czech Republic now. Czechoslovakia. He went over to Czechoslovakia in 1986, and he did something called like the I can't remember what, I mean, you can find all this. This is all open source intelligence. He was on something. It was called the European Workers' Party or something, which is a massive communist communist project. Now, it turns out that that project was actually a subversion project, part of demoralization. Now, Keir Starmer was involved in that. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm telling you now is the Reader's Digest version, all right? All this information can be found easily just by doing a quick Google search. Search Keir Starmer, Czechoslovakia Workers' Party. It'll come up, all this information. While he was over there, he was identified as a person of potential interest for further exploitation. They're not my words, guys. They are not my words. This information came out once the fall of the Soviet Union in, when was it? Well, I guess it was a long time before the Soviet Union. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Czechoslovakia was now Czech Republic, and the intelligence services were no longer KGB. They were Czech Republic intelligence services. So they released all this documentation, and the documentation sat in a file. Nobody really looked through it. Nobody really cared. It was just a bunch of names of people that had been, files written on them by the intelligence services. Then somebody went through it and found a young gentleman called Keir Starmer. Yep. A whole file has been written by the KGB, basically, the Czechoslovakian intelligence services, and they identified as Keir Starmer as a person they could exploit in the future. So this is all part of that first stage, guys, demoralization. Keir Starmer comes to the United Kingdom. He's on his rise to fame. He joins the Fabian Society. Then he takes funding from Lord Ali. Now, this is a huge rabbit hole, guys, and I could talk about this for a long time. Lord Ali, without going too deep into it, guys, there's a direct link to Lord Ali to Jeffrey Epstein. There's a 100% link there. It's not difficult to find. Literally, it's 4 clicks on Wikipedia, and that's all you find. So now you've got the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, I'm not making this up, being identified in 1986 as a person for further exploitation. You've now got Lord Ali, his main funder and donor, who has direct links back to Epstein. Does that sound legit and above board to you? Do you think he's do you think he's in there for a reason? Do you think someone behind the scenes who's pulling the strings is like, I don't know. Does it sound normal? Does it sound like, yeah, this young lad whose mum and dad, his dad was a tool maker. He used to make the most brilliant tools in the world. Fantastic tools. And Keir Starmer, he just wanted to help people in this country, so he became a politician. He wasn't subverted at all. He wasn't subverted in the 80s. That's the reality of the situation, guys. What I've told you there is literally what I've told you guys right there is all easily available on open source media. Literally, you can Google that stuff and it's not restricted. It's all there. Kind of brings you back to karmatic retribution. So, all that information's out there about Keir Starmer. If you still vote for him, that's on you. Anyway, let me jump down, guys. Let me jump down. Yeah, Sean McKay saying he must have made the best tools in the world. Yeah, Keir Starmer's dad made the best tools in the world. Mahmood, or whatever her name is, saying everyone is welcome here. Is that a thing? Has that just happened? Sean McKay, has that just happened? Really? I hope that's not just happened. So many things posted about mass weapons being deployed over here secretly. There is, guys, but I'll be honest with you, I've not seen a smoking gun. No pun intended. I've not seen that smoking gun that leads me to believe that somebody does have actual evidence. I've not seen it. My only evidence, and it's not evidence at all, actually, I don't have any evidence. My analysis of this situation is that criminal gangs want to make money. Criminal gangs will commit crime to make money. Let's just leave that as a statement. I think that's a true statement. If anybody wants to argue with that statement, fine, we'll argue with it. So do we think those criminal gangs are bringing things over on the boats? I would say yes. I would say they are. I would say it's a high likelihood that they are. I would say if the RNLI is overwhelmed, then of course boats are going to get through. And if the smuggling gangs know how many boats they can send to overwhelm who's paying for this anymore? Who's funding the RNLI? I know their donations of like zero now. So that's how I would say it's getting over. Kaz is saying, what's your thoughts on the security service admitting jihadis are now the biggest threat? Well, first of all, the biggest threat is subversion. That's the real threat. These jihadis, they can be dealt with relatively quickly. Contextually, when the real British forces went into Afghanistan in 2000 and when was it? I want to say 2005, early 2005. The real forces went into Afghanistan and started to do some stuff. Like the British forces in Helmand. The British forces in Helmand closed down. I need to be careful what I'm saying because I always get my live streams cut on this. Right. I need to be careful what I'm saying. When you contextualize that in Helmand, in southern Afghanistan, British forces, I need to be careful with my language here, guys, because I don't want to get a live stream. British forces took control within a couple of months. Within a couple of months, British forces took control. It was hard work. It was brutal. And then the government said, oh, that's enough now. That's enough. Don't finish them. Just, no, that's fine. Just, you've done enough now. They're okay. Let's give them democracy. So it's very easy to close these groups down because they're not that competent. The problem is the subverted government that we've got. Shane Postgate, in fact, hang on. I'll do yours next, Shane. Mark Hardman is saying, yeah, right, guys, listen, I need to put this to bed real quick. Okay, so Mark's saying, I've heard about these hotels looking after things that go bang, the metal, and they're about that big and stuff comes out at the end for migrants. Look, guys, I just want to put this to bed. I believe that it is highly unlikely that is happening in that context. So when we're seeing all these videos saying, these crates have moved in and a friend of mine said this and they said this, where's the pictures? Where's the pictures of this? I'm not seeing the credibility in these accounts. I've heard the video. I've seen the videos like you have. I've seen all the white noise. Trying to find the source material, very difficult. I've not seen anything. So let's put this in the, let's give this, let's put this in an Overton window. Are we saying that somebody, a hotel manager, saw these things and didn't take a picture? Are we saying that a hotel, this is happening and people are not phoning the police? Are we saying that these things are not being stolen? I just like the way it's being framed to me in the context that I was there, it was late at night, and a military colonel turned up and he said, "Here, mate, I got this box for you. Put it in the back room, right? And don't even open it. No, I can't tell you what's in it, but it ain't weapons and explosives. That MB40 on the side of it, don't worry about that. That don't mean nothing." Like, I don't believe that's happening. I don't. I would believe that I would see more credibility in an account where somebody had just said something like, I was working at a hotel. There was 4 storage containers outside. We was told that it was all the old furniture from the hotels had been put into these storage containers. We were allowed to use storage container 1 and 2 for our own stuff, bringing stuff in, bringing stuff out. Storage container 3 and 4, we were never allowed to use them. We never had the keys. One night I was having a cig outside. I saw some people come in. I don't know who they were. They put some stuff in and I saw a weapon drop on the floor. They put it in and closed it up and they didn't see me. I would have more credibility in that account because all these little things make sense. What I'm hearing, and I'm not saying it's not happening, I'm saying what I'm hearing doesn't make sense. And remember, guys, I've done this at high, I've worked in this sphere at the highest levels, and just the things that people are saying in response to this, they just don't make sense. Shane Poske is saying, has there been any protests today? I can't find streams. So we kind of touched on this earlier on. So Shane, the protests have more or less gone now. Kids are back at school. Mums and dads are back at work. The weather's starting to cool down. You know, that's it. That's it. The protests are over. It's done. It's finished. It's not coming back. Next summer, we are going to be so poor. We're going to have so many laws and legislations pushed on us. That's the reality, guys. You know, it's all going to be. It's over now. I did a bit of a longer monologue earlier on TikTok. I was talking about, like, where do you go from here now? Like, where do you go from here right now? We're being subverted. We're about to head into a crisis phase. We're looking like a global conflict on an industrial scale. We're looking like the United Kingdom is going to become part of the United States. We're looking at a whole new, you know, ecosystem. What do you do? Like, right now, what do you do? What are you doing right now? Like, we can pretend, and again, guys, I love this to be the case. We can pretend that people are going to rise up and don Templar helmets. People are too worried about losing their jobs for that to happen. Do you know who are not worried about losing their jobs? In fact, here's a quick thing, guys, right? If you're a man in the United Kingdom, you are worried about losing your job. I get it. So you're not going to go out and protect your neighborhood. I get it. Do you know who's not worried about losing their job? Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, those people on, those people who are not working. That's who's not worried about losing their job. So what do you do? What do you do with that information? I mean, do you move abroad, open up like a company in Poland or something? What do you do right now when you can see what's coming? Literally, like, what do you do to make your situation better? If you see the wave coming, you can ride it. If you don't see the wave coming, it's going to whack you in the face and put you on your ass. So what do you do? You know, what do you do? Right, hang on, guys. Let me jump up and get these because somebody. Theory Drop is saying, all right, but did you look to the flat plane yet? Right. In what context? Martin Quinn is saying there's been hundreds of protests all over Britain, Wales, and Scotland, all over the world. They're going to slow down, guys. Mark my words, the protests will slow down. Speaky What You See is saying I'd prefer to become a part of the United States. So would I. I'd actually welcome it, guys. You know, I would actually welcome that. And the main reason I welcome becoming part of the United States is because here in the UK, we don't have any way to oppose a tyrannical government. We don't. We have no legal, there's no legal framework for the citizens of the United Kingdom to oppose a tyrannical government. None. We literally have to vote. How's that working out for us? Weave is saying on my repost page, lorry full of stuff that right, okay, hang on, let me just pin this. So Weave, if you're still on, right. Okay, did you actually see pictures of that? And did you see where that was going? Because I'm struggling to see. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm saying I'm struggling to see the legitimacy in these people's claims. Kaz is saying the protests are still happening in Northern Ireland as well, but they're not being covered because they're very peaceful. Sean McKay is saying, please read the news letter from Alpha. Don't know if that's correct name. Please translate it. I'm going to have to look onto that later. Nats News is saying Magna Carta. No, the Magna Carta is no such like, you know, people think that the Magna Carta is some sort of... So Nats News is responding to what I said earlier, whereby I was saying we don't have any method to oppose a tyrannical government. And Nats News here is saying the Magna Carta. Now, the only thing in the Magna Carta was Article 60, I think it's 61 or 62 in the Magna Carta, which said that there used to be the 25 barons in the United Kingdom could oppose the king. So if the 25 barons agreed, they had the legal responsibility to overthrow the king. Now, that never got passed into law. I mean, you know, try quoting Article 61 of the Magna Carta in, you know, it's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know, we know it's not going to happen because the government are literally breaking laws left, right, and centre to get these migrants here. So they're picking and choosing what laws they abide by. Shane Poskett. Sorry, guys. Listen, the chat's going crackers here. So Shane Poskett is saying Farage is being more Americanized and he's going to be prime minister, which I welcome. It's the Americanization of the United Kingdom. Now, the United Kingdom will become part of America. It will. There's no denying it, guys. It's an inevitability. I was talking about this over a year ago. People were mocking me, but don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. I've been mocked before. I was in the military for a long time. I've been mocked quite a lot. I've got thick skin. I can get to where I'm going. Sean McKay saying the newsletter was sickening. Sean, can you send me a link to that, mate, to my inbox, please? Or maybe don't if it's that sickening. Theory Drop is saying Garage said he's going to get rid of the Human Rights Act, which we know is used to, I don't know what that means. But when it's gone, we're stuffed. He's a false idol. Oh, right. Okay, so Farage is a false idol. Look, guys, I've met Nigel. I've met Nigel. I'm not best friends with him or everything. I've not got his phone number. I'm not in any. I'm not in any WhatsApp groups with him, although a lot of people I know are in what know him well. What I'll say about Nigel is I believe he's a genuine, I've always said this, I'm not changing my tune. I think he's a genuine guy. I think he is massively intelligent. I just don't think he's the solution. And that's not a bad thing on Nigel. I don't think Nigel has the stomach to do what's necessary. I mean, to get the United Kingdom back to 1995, we are talking about like French Revolution stuff. And I just don't see that happening, guys. I really don't see that happening with what's, you know, I just don't see that happening. I don't see what circumstances could lead to that. I really don't. Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys, I'm going to start to close this down now on TikTok. I will continue the live stream over on, I'll continue the live stream over to, over on YouTube and X. So don't forget to follow me over there, ladies and gentlemen, right? The chat gets wild over on YouTube, guys. I'm not going to lie. Might not be for everyone. It gets wild. It gets out there. It goes bonkers, all right? So if you're going to join me over on the chat on YouTube or X, I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube and I'm the Real Raven 1 on X also. So I will be closing this down on TikTok in a minute. And I'll continue the live stream over on YouTube. Mikey is saying both Farage and Starmer looking to send migrants to Taliban who don't want money but aid recruitment. I don't think it's ever going to happen, guys. You know, I don't think it's going to happen. I do not think it's ever going to happen. Tracy Jane is saying, Sean, what's your thoughts on the ex-policeman? Gary, I don't know who that is. Hang on. I don't know who that is. Hang on. Let me Google him. Gary. There's no, I'm not getting, I don't know what that means. Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he is. What is your question? Tracy, give me a question. I'll try and give you an answer real quick. Oh, just a quick one before we close this down on TikTok, guys. Okay. One of the questions was, Sean, can you explain subversion again? So just real quick, subversion in this context is ideological subversion is a long-term process of undermining the fundamental values of a country. Its belief systems, its institutions, its society, you know, and you do this by introducing or promoting alternate ideologies. In our case, we've had Islam brought on us. You know, this is often through manipulation of the media, education systems, social systems, religion, police, anything. You then destabilize that country in order to cause a crisis. And then on that crisis, you move in, you take over, or the country will eventually collapse. In our circumstance, I believe we're going to be taken over by the United States. Tracy is saying there's a big fraud with Companies House. I'm going to have to check into that, Tracy Jane. I will have to check onto that. I've no idea. Tracy Jane saying something here about there's a big fraud with Companies House. I'm going to have to, I'd have to have a look into that. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this live stream down now. If you've got any further questions, jump over to YouTube because I will be on YouTube. I will continue this chat on YouTube. The lights go out. It's the watershed. I get to say P's and Q's. I don't have to mind my language as much as I do on TikTok. So we will be jumping over to YouTube now, guys. I'll be closing this down. I'm the Real Raven 1 on YouTube, and I will hopefully see you there. And if not, I'll see you in the morning at 10. And we are off. We are off, ladies and gentlemen. We are off. Right, do I need to click any buttons on the screen? Maybe I do. Right, good evening, everyone on YouTube. Good evening, welcome. I almost kept that to I did keep it to an hour, didn't I? When the chat's going crackers, it's right, close. Right, okay, let me get some comments. Lisa Gary is live now. Who's Lisa Gary? I don't know who this is, guys. I don't know who that is, who Lisa Gary is. I'm going to have to find him at another point. I can't be live on two places. April Lee saying hi all. Debbie Doobs has jumped over. Ashley Sykes is saying, oh, wow, 5 years ago it was a conspiracy theorist, and now that's been debunked. It's now memes. So many things happen, don't there? Like, that are conspiracies. Like, for me, you know, when this crazy, just as we talked about conspiracies, you know, like, for me, the biggest one that I saw with my own eyes, and again, I don't know if this is anything yet, but you know, when we all got locked down last year and we all was like, you know, keeping 6 feet apart and doing hands, face and space. And we were told that only essential workers were allowed out. Did you see how quickly the 5G towers went up? Like, really, did you? Now, look, guys, I'll be quite clear. I don't know if there's anything. Peculiar about that. It just, to me, seemed really strange that everybody was locked down and all these 5G towers just went poof, and they're there now. That's just it. Like, from my military background, I know that those towers, but you know, I don't actually know that at all. From my military background, I know that you can put sensors places, the military, the police force, that can troll information. Now, I don't know if there's any connection here. I don't know if those cell towers that you drive past have military or surveillance equipment on them, or maybe they're just 5G towers, or maybe they're just genuinely that the only components they have on them are 5G transmitting stuff. And even that, you kind of start to question it. The other night, well, like last month, I think it was, or maybe the month before, this was wild, guys, all right? I don't know if you've got a tinfoil hat, but you may want to put it on right now. So the other night, like that might have been a month ago, or a couple of months, I've done the video. It was fucking wild, right? Yeah, and I don't swear often, guys, but this was fucking bonkers. I woke up in the middle of the night. It was about 2 o'clock. I was confused. The first thing I noticed, I was looking at the curtains. I was trying to get out the curtains. Sarah was out of bed. She was laid on the landing. She couldn't sleep. And it was just wild. Something happened. It was like a smack in the face. I don't know what it was. I do not know what it was. I did a message. I put a post out on TikTok and I said, ladies and gentlemen, going back. So I phoned my sister up. I said, how did you sleep last night? Just putting it out there. She said, oh my God, Sean, it was absolutely wild. I said, what do you mean? She said, I couldn't sleep. 2 o'clock in the morning, the dogs are barking. She'd gone to the caravan. The dogs are barking. My husband, he's walking around trying to cook pasta. He couldn't sleep either. I said, wow, really? She said, yeah. I went, wow, okay. So I phoned my dad. Exactly the same with my dad. I phoned one of my friends up. I said, mate, did you sleep last night? He said, absolutely not. No idea what it was. Tossing and turning. He'd had an operation on his leg, so he thought it was the leg, but he couldn't sleep either. Sarah's phoning her friends up, and she's like, yeah, we was rats. It was like, couldn't sleep. Kids were up. Dogs were barking. I did a video. I put a video out there. I said, right, guys, listen, just a wild one. How did everybody sleep? Boom, the comments. Exactly the same things happening. People worried, people scared, people waking up between one. It was all between like, I'm going to say it was between midnight and 3. I'm going to claim on that, ladies and gentlemen, this is my own speculation, my own analysis. We got hit by some sort of electronic weapon. That's what I'm calling it, guys. I think that it's all public record. I wrote it down actually on the whiteboard in the house. I'm going to claim that at that time and date, people in the United Kingdom got hit with some sort of electronic weapon. I do. I 100% believe that happened. I did a video on it. It's all out there on public record. Literally go through the comments, guys. It's absolutely wild. So yeah, you know, we're talking about conspiracies. There are plenty of them out there. Martin Quinn is saying, if you watch some of the, Martin Quinn is saying, if you watch some of the I think that's autocorrect. Police camera action on TV, you can see Bradford, where there was an accident and they caught him with an IP address at the lights. Yeah. Massive thing, yeah. It's not just your. Yeah, so on your phones, any item that connects to the internet, any item that's got Bluetooth, any electronic device actually that's got connectivity, has something called a MAC address, which is media access code. So you've got a few things on your mobile phones. I've got so I don't know if you're the same. I've got a dual SIM mobile phone, so I've got 2 SIM cards. Each SIM card has a. Does it have an IMEI number? Or is that your phone? Yeah, so you also have an IMEI number, which is your phone, and then you have a MAC address, so MAC address code, which MAC address code, media access code, sorry, which is called your MAC address. So all these things are very easy to trace. So when you're walking around, your phone is naturally looking for Wi-Fi. So it's saying, right, okay, I've got that router, even if you don't have to log on to it. So maybe it'll say MAC address 123456789. Try to log on to this tested signal, or whatever they call it, squawking signal. Tested that signal at this time and this day, and it was signal, and it was strength 5 or whatever. I don't know. Also, it was picking up this Wi-Fi and different strengths. And then if you draw a little circle around where those Wi-Fi routers are, you can triangulate where that mobile phone is. It's very easy to do. They used to do this with cell towers. Now, I don't know if you've ever made a phone call or not, and you've ever made a phone call and you click the button and boom, it's straight there. You're like, wow, that was quick. Or you've tried to make a phone call and it's not ringing yet. It's not ringing yet. And then it starts ringing. What's actually happening there is your signal's going out and it's trying to find the strongest cell tower. Now, if you're already on a relatively strong cell tower, that's when it's going to go through straight away. So when you're moving around, you're constantly changing between cell towers. And it's exactly the same scenario. You know, that's how you used to find it with, GSM. You would say, right, Raven's number is 07123456. He's pinging right now at strength 5 on this cell tower, strength 6 on this cell tower, strength 2 on that cell tower. So then you draw circles around those cell towers and you get a rough estimate of where that person is. But the Wi-Fi, that's like absolutely pinpoint. The cell towers, that was a generalized area. Also, if you want to talk about IP addresses and mobile phones and etc., in the conflict in Ukraine, the Russians are using the Ukrainians' own cell towers in the same situation to use as navigation. So we know that cell tower is there, and we're getting that signal from our mobile phone, so we can navigate using those cell towers. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I went down a rabbit hole there, probably a little bit too deep. D. Marie is saying, "Ew, we do that government alert to keep our phones tomorrow." Oh yeah, we've got that phone tomorrow, haven't we? That is Is it the 7th? Yeah, I think it is the 7th. I got a text message saying we're going to send you an alarm. I think I've got mine turned off. I keep my phone. What you've got to understand is if the government can send anyone an alarm to their phone without their phone number, what else can they do? So that's sending you an alarm. What else do you think they can do to your phone? You see where I'm going with that? From now, he's saying they claim that CERN may rip off true reality. It's a good conspiracy. Oh, listen, I used to work with a guy in a project I was on called yeah, I can mention him. His name was Steve Rucroft. Now, he was a senior particle physicist at CERN. He really took me under his wing, and he was telling me that CERN is an absolute waste of money. That's what he was telling me. He's saying, Sean, it's an absolute waste of money. It's never going to find what they're never going to find what they're looking for. They're trying to they're trying to get nuclear fusion. And he was telling me, Steve was telling me, and he's like one of the senior particle physicists. He was saying that you're just not going to get the mass of the sun, and you're never going to be able to produce that on Earth. But anyway, that's what he was telling me. Silly is saying it was published that our IDF intelligence got Abu Abyada, I don't know who he is, we couldn't get for years using TikTok. Don't know how, but it was published on main Israeli news. I don't know. Maybe good old Adu who like to do a little dance every now and then, a little lip syncing. I don't know. I don't know who he is. I do know the guy that was taken out by a drone in Suliminari. Was it Suliminari? I think it was Suliminari who was taken out on the Bayat Road. I don't know if any of you guys have ever been to Baghdad. When you're leaving Baghdad, the airport, you go down the Bayat Road, Baghdad International Airport. It's just off Route Irish, and it's a really long road, and you have to go around the airport. So there's like a really, not sharp bend, but a bend. That's where apparently they took out Soleimani. Now, I heard, and I don't know how much truth's in this, that he was given a ring, and the metal in that specific ring, it shone up easily on satellite. So wherever he was rolling, he had his fancy ring on that was given to him by someone, and that's how I was told that they found him. I don't know how much truth's in that. Ashley is saying, my emergency alert was turned back on the last time my phone was updated. It's now turned off again to check that doesn't receive anything tomorrow. I don't know. What are we worried that we're gonna receive something tomorrow? If any of you guys ever go to Ukraine, and I would absolutely recommend it. But if you guys go to, hang on. If you guys go to Ukraine, you get them on your phone all the time. Your phone will just go, you're like, what's going on? And that's like the air alert. And then it'll say, your region is under air attack. Please find hard shelter or something. So I don't know, guys. Are we saying that we don't want it? Are we saying that we don't want our alerts given to us? Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, guys. I am going to close this down now. I'm gonna be leaving. I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. I may be having some food. Listen, I want the crux of this video to be America. Do not let yourselves be subverted like we are in the United Kingdom. We are not in for a good time. Things are going to get worse. I do think they'll get better at some point, but undoubtedly they have to get worse before they get better. It's a process that we're going through ultimately, and I do think it's going to end with the United States taking over the United Kingdom. I do, guys, and I'll be quite honest, I am actually welcoming that. And the reason I'm welcoming that, and I'll say this every time, is because here in the United Kingdom, we do not have any method of opposing a tyrannical government. We have no legal framework that is set up. And you can argue whether the Americans do, you know, at least they can argue that they have the Second Amendment. We can't argue that. Somebody on TikTok said we have the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta is like, it's not worth, we don't have the Magna Carta, guys. It was an old document. Most of the stuff in the Magna Carta was to protect landowners. Doesn't really give much about opposing government. The only thing that it did say was, I think it was Article 20, not 26. Article 61, I think it was, said that the 25 barons of England could oppose the king. That makes no sense in today, guys. And, you know, good luck trying to throw that through the courts. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to close this down now. I'll be back on at 10 in the morning. Don't get subverted, guys. Nobody needs a subversion, not on a weekend. Anyway, guys, I'll see you tomorrow.